Hi, welcome back to Podium Pop. I am Grace here with my co-host Celine. And do we have an episode here for you this week?
Guys, it's been a day.
It's been a day, it's been a weekend, and we are here to recap the Formula One Hungarian Grand Prix for you. And I say we just get right in. Let's pop this bottle, get right into it.
Mm-hmm. First, make sure you're following us on social media.
Yep.
We post on TikTok. We post on Instagram. Make sure you're following us on there because, again, we post every Monday. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we're a little late and post Tuesday, but mostly every Monday.
Mondays.
But if you were to ever get a bonus episode, we do post about it on there, so make sure you're following us.
Yeah. So, obviously, I mean, there's so much happened with Mclaren during the race, but we are going to go kind of through the whole weekend. We're gonna start with stuff we found out. I think it was Thursday, media day, when we found a bunch of stuff out. And we're starting with the fact that Kevin Magnussen is not going to be with Haas next year, and they have not announced who's taking that spot yet.
Well, everyone assumed we knew the answer.
Yeah, we assumed we knew the answer. We thought it was going to be Esteban.
Mm-hmm. Things change.
What do you think Kmag's going to do?
If people are saying he could be going to IMSA. Mm-hmm. People are saying that he could be going to WEC.
Yeah.
I personally believe he would be a fantastic rally car driver.
Oh, well, yeah.
He's got the energy for it.
He does have the energy for it.
He doesn't have any, that I know of, any experience with it. And he hasn't, I don't know if he has an interest in it. Mm-hmm. That's just me thinking he'd be good. But I'd like to see him at WEC.
Yeah, I think he'd do great.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't think he has another spot in Formula One.
No, I don't think he does either.
There's nowhere to put him.
There's not space.
Mm-hmm.
There's literally not space. And once again, Carlos, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Go away.
Just a casual another check-in. Still don't know where Carlos is going next year.
And he made a joke. He goes, I don't know. I was too busy watching the Euros.
The disrespect. Like, at some point, just be respectful.
Let's be serious. Please.
People are, their livelihoods, well, their livelihoods.
I mean, some people's jobs are going to be taken away.
Some people's jobs are going to be taken away, and they're just there waiting for Carlos to make an answer, and he's too busy watching a soccer game. And yeah, I called it soccer. Get mad at me, Carlos.
So, speaking of, like, Kmag and the Haas seat, we all kind of thought it would be Esteban. Because we've heard a lot of rumors linked to Esteban. Mm-hmm. But this week, we got some crazy Williams rumors. You want to take it away? Ooh.
So, rumor... You almost sneezed?
Yeah, I thought I was going to sneeze.
Rumor is that the original plan was after Silverstone, Esteban would step into the Williams seat, take over for Logan Sargent, immediately. And that was like everything was good to go. Like things were secure.
He did a seat test.
And Alpine blocked it and was like, no, we're keeping him.
They said they were not going to give him to direct competitors this season.
Mm-hmm. And so my thinking is that why would he go to Williams for a couple of races? I mean, not a couple of races, for like half the year if he didn't intend to stay at Williams next year.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
So does that mean Esteban, instead of going to Haas, is going to Williams? And in that case, who's going to Haas? Carlos?
I just don't want Carlos to go to Alpine because I want Jack Doohan to have that seat.
Yeah.
That is the only thing I'm asking for.
So, Pietro. Still there?
Okay, yeah, but where the hell would Carlos go? You've said this before, and I think I kind of agree. I think Carlos is holding out for Red Bull.
Yeah. And I think it's fair for him to do so. Because once again...
Yeah. I just realized the side of my hat bends in. Weird. Okay, sorry, that was not important. Yeah. And also today, James Vowell said that within the next 2 weeks, we will know who Alex Albon's teammate is going to be next year. So...
Yeah, another thing to note is we're not doing a recap of F2, but
oh yes,
in a like interview after, like Kimi himself was like, maybe I'm not ready for F1 yet. Mm-hmm. And to be fair, he's not. He's 17 years old. He's young. He's had a handful of races in F2. That's it. I don't think he's ready for F1 yet, and I think it would be better for him to wait a year and do another year in F2.
Play the long game with it.
But I do also wonder if maybe he himself made that comment because the news got to him that the decision was made that they aren't going to move forward with him, and he was trying to be like, you know, like, I don't even know, like, I don't think I'm going to go, kind of thing. Get ahead of it, you know, to save him, not the embarrassment, because who would be embarrassed by that? But,
no, absolutely.
So maybe that's why he made the comment, and then who's going to the Mercedes seat? Like,
I keep forgetting about that Mercedes seat.
Is Carlos going there? Is Max going there? Jokes, but after this weekend. I don't know.
Did you also see that this week George has been linked to Audi for 26?
I didn't see that.
I don't know. I could tell it was like satire.
Robert Scavern.
Yeah. If you know, you know. I saw those tweets, and that's very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe
we cannot start talking about 2026 yet.
Maybe Carlos goes to Red Bull. Maybe Checo goes to Haas. The contracts mean nothing anymore, okay?
We were silent for so long.
Liam Lawson, where's he going?
But get him in that seat. We'll talk more about the whole RB thing as well. Mm-hmm. Which, speaking of that, Yuki literally was asked about the whole Checo situation, and if I guess somebody asked him, like, oh, well, Liam's name's been thrown out, and he straight up just said, that'd be weird if Liam was in the Red Bull seat.
It would be weird.
And no, it would be so weird. He's right.
Because why wouldn't they put either Daniel or Yuki in? Like, I think Yuki should be in it more than Daniel.
I agree,
Although, I do see why they probably would go with Daniel, just because he has experience with the team. Mm-hmm. He's more experienced in general. But it would be weird for them to just, like, put Liam straight in. Now, maybe put him in, I think we talked about this last episode, but put him in RB for the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. And then put him in Red Bull next year. I don't know. Also, rumors are out. I actually don't know if it's confirmed or rumor, but that part of Checo's contract, the dropping below a certain percentage away from max, basically, was only put into the new contract. He didn't have that in his old contract. And apparently, people are like, maybe because they were like, you have to have this in your contract or we're not signing you again. So Checo's like, obviously, like, okay, I'll put it in my contract. Mm-hmm. People are wondering if maybe they made him sign the contract and put that in there so early because they already had the intention of wanting to replace him midway through the season.
Why would they pull that contract out, though? Why would they extend it for 2 years if they thought they were going to pull him mid-season?
Because they couldn't have pulled him mid-season with the old contract in place.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So maybe they were like, oh, we'll have him sign this so that it's now active in there, and we can. I don't know. That's just speculation there, but
yeah, it's all so interesting. I love it, to be honest.
Yeah, love it. We could talk for hours.
And you know what? On Friday, we did.
We had. That's exactly what we
did.
Like,
we'll stay in tonight. We'll have like a wine night. We'll read a book. And we're like, this is fun. We sat there. We read our books for like 20 minutes, and then we looked at each other. We were like, anyway, Formula One, motorsport, and we talked literally, I think for like 4 hours, 5 hours. Mm-hmm. I don't know. We talked for so long. Just drinking our glasses of wine. It was a great time.
It was great.
And obviously we have a whole freaking podcast dedicated to this sport, so.
Yeah. We spend our free time yapping even without being on the podcast.
Do we have a problem?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. But yeah, we could keep talking about seats for next year, but
I think beginning of summer break, some things are going to kick off, and then I think it's going to be quiet for a little bit.
I do wonder if the fact that they're announcing Williams in the next 2 weeks, maybe that means that a lot of things have clicked into place.
And maybe it is Carlos, and maybe that falls with my thing that I said Carlos is going to announce it first week of summer break and then throw his phone in the ocean.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, another thing that we didn't discuss, there was no Team Torque this week.
Yeah, okay. So that's what people were just theorizing about for the whole Esteban situation to Williams. There was no Team Torque. and they didn't do a team twerk because they didn't think Logan was going to be there.
Yeah, and they thought that it would be weird to have a team twerk with Alex and Esteban so quickly. The fans probably wouldn't have taken well to that. And
I wouldn't have.
So they... No.
I would have been so pissed off.
But it sucks because we obviously are Logan fans. And I do think that he probably doesn't need to be at Williams next year.
No.
But it sucks that it's like all of this is like kind of coming into play when he actually started. Like the last 2 weeks, I feel like have been really good weeks for him.
Yeah, they have been good weeks for him.
So it's hard, but
it's a bummer. Should we get started with the racing?
Yep, let's get right into it.
Just really quick. In FP3, Red Bull was running the hard, so was Aston Martin. So we, like, kind of had no clue what their pace was, what they were looking like for quali. And honestly, Ruth was talking during FP3, and once again, I just get so much knowledge from her talking.
Yeah.
I loved it. She was, like, explaining it, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is making so much sense. And you know what? It's stuck. I love it.
Yeah, she's honestly one of my
good.
favorite, like, people to listen to on F1 TV.
Speaking of Ruth, really quick, Will Buxton wasn't at the race this weekend, and it felt, at least to me, that kind of Laura Winter was kind of stepping up as that, like, main person. She did a great job.
Fantastic.
She did fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely.
And then who was the new girl?
She does, I forget what her name is. She does
Alice?
stuff, I think you might be right.
Let me double check.
She does a lot of F3 and F2 stuff. She was very knowledgeable as well.
Yeah.
I think she predicted an Oscar win. Which...
So did we. Alice Powell. Yeah.
And you know what? Let's rip the Band-Aid off real quick. Because Oscar motherfucking Piastri won this race.
Woo!
Hip hip!
Hooray!
Hip hip!
Hooray! Oh, Oscar Piastri. Oh, Oscar Piastri. Anyways. We had to get it over with.
If you wanted a quick little musical, you got it from us. So freaking excited about it. But let's go through the whole race.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, we need to talk about qualifying. I jumped the gun on that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the quali.
We'll go through it real quick. Checo crashed in qualifying.
Yeah, it was a doozy.
It was a doozy.
But second qualifying in a row that he's crashed.
It was pretty scary, though. Very glad he was okay from that.
Mm-hmm.
In Q3, with 2 minutes to go... Well, 3 minutes to go, Oscar got second, Lando had provisional pole, and then Yuki crashed around 2 minutes left, which, that was also scary. He went airborne. Yeah. We still cannot figure out how he got in the air.
We don't know what he ran over. We thought maybe the curb, but, like, it was just
weird. Did the curb just magically lift him? I don't know, it was crazy. So that led to a red flag. Yuki was okay, and he was really, really upset. That was, like, hard to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So then we were sitting there, we were like, it was like 2:13, 2:15 left or something. We're like,
I thought they were going to call it.
Like, there's not enough time.
And rain was coming.
Yeah, we were like, it's not going to work. But then they did it, and then
some cars went back out.
But the cars went back into the garage, did work, check-in, whatever, data stuff. And then they, like, once they realized they were going back out, everybody quickly lined up. Because they basically had time to get an out lap and then a push lap. Spoiler, it didn't happen. Also, Max and Fernando said, fuck this, it's not gonna work, and they hopped out of the car.
Yep.
They didn't go back out.
Yeah.
So only 7 went back out, and then nobody was able to get a time. It was pointless.
Yeah.
So, Lando got pole.
Mm-hmm.
Odd
Front row lockup. First one since Jenson Button and Lewis Hamilton were driving for McLaren.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just amazing. It was a weird way to get pole, though. You think about it.
Yeah, the whole
weekend was weird.
It was weird.
So
it was weird. All of it was very like both qualifying, getting the 1-2, and the race, all very like anticlimactic.
Literally, so anticlimactic
because of the things that happened. Like with it, there being like a red flag 2 minutes before the end of qualifying. Like it was like they settled and they like accepted that hey, we probably have the 1-2, but it's not official. So like. There wasn't that, like, one moment where everyone was like, woo! Like, it just wasn't, I don't know. But, yeah, so we did, I say we got the front row lockout.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. And then it was Max in third.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and he got the. That just was so funny that he got a car. I was like, "What's he doing?"
Yeah. Was it Max that got third?
Yeah, Max got third.
Okay, yeah.
The race.
Yeah. Let's start.
Raise your hand if you were scared all morning. Raise your hand if you've been scared since Silverstone of the McLaren strategy team.
And you know what? We
had every right to be.
Had every right to be scared.
Let's talk the race.
So, starting out, obviously, front row lockup. Mm-hmm. We need to talk about Lando's starts.
We need to talk about Lando's starts.
He always goes to the right and wedges people in. The exact same thing he did in Barcelona.
And that's what gave George the lead.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why he does that.
Yeah.
He's got to stop.
Luckily, it didn't end up as bad for McLaren, but it was Lando and Max kind of going at it, and Oscar once again just kind of minded his business, got a really good start.
Great start.
And Oscar was leading the race for majority of the time.
Yeah.
It was most people did 2 pit stops.
Yes.
Except for Yuki, which we'll talk about.
We'll get to that.
But all in all, like the first, I would say, full half, maybe a little bit more than that.
Yeah, because it happened with the second pit stop.
Mm-hmm. It was pretty relaxed.
It was pretty chill. Oscar was leading.
Chill.
Lando and Max had a little tussle, and then Max overtook off track, and Lando.
Oh yeah, they did. They were like on the radios, and Lando's like, he's gotta give that position back, and Max was like, I'm not giving that position back, and then GP. Max was on one this weekend. GP was like, Max, if you don't give the position back ourselves, we risk getting a penalty. It's not worth the fight. Just do it. And from that moment on, Max, I guess, got it in his head that GP don't know shit. And he said, you know what? I'm going to be the race car driver and the engineer this weekend. And him and GP should probably book another couples therapy session after this weekend. And you know what? Lando needs to book one as well.
I get like the shivers every time I think about this.
Yeah. So like we said, Oscar was leading. Once we Lando did eventually move into second, and we had really good gaps. Both between Lando and Oscar there was a good gap, but also between Lando and Max. And it was really Max and Lewis pretty much battling the whole time
for third.
Yes. And then the second pit stop happened.
Okay.
We missed anything? Well, Pierre
DNF'd. They didn't say why.
They didn't say why. We're assuming it's a mechanical thing. It kind of came out of nowhere and it wasn't talked about because there was just so much going on. For the last half of the race, like, they said nothing about anything other than Lando and Oscar and Max and Lewis.
Well, and GP and Will and Lando. So...
The radio messages were crazy.
They were literally insane this week. And unprofessional from a lot of sides. McLaren's second pit stop of the race, they decided to pit Lando first, saying that it was going to help against racing Lewis.
Yeah, because basically Lewis pit before everybody else.
Yeah.
And if they didn't pit Lando, the intention was to pit Lando... Or they said. The intention was to pit Lando so that Lando could help keep Lewis back. So by the time Oscar pit, Lewis didn't, like, completely run away with it. So they did. They pit Lando. And Lando ended up in the lead after everybody else kind of eventually pit after that.
Yeah.
Lando ran away with it. Well, not completely. He was like 2-3 seconds in leading Oscar against Oscar, and nobody thought they would do this. Everyone was sad for Oscar.
Lando had pit first, and then the next lap Oscar pit. So, you know, they were hoping Oscar was going to come out first in this pit, but Lando ended up undercutting Oscar.
Right.
Per the team's orders.
Yes. And... everyone was just like, oh, bad luck. Like, they won't call team orders on this, like, kind of thing. Like,
Lando's
it was
second in the championship. Like,
everyone thought that McLaren did that on purpose.
Oh, and then we were like, oh, this sucks for Oscar.
It sucks for Oscar. And then they call team orders. everyone was shocked. The commentators were like, what?
Literally so
They
shocked.
were pulling up, Multi 21. They were talking about,
DC talking about it. Yeah.
And it was, Team Wars were called, and let me tell you, shocker, Lando was not happy.
No way.
And Lando is, I will say, never happy when Team Orders are called.
No.
And Oscar is always like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So they called Team Orders, and Lando was like, basically just not having it.
Also,
he was like...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I would say by the time, at least it reached us, and they viewed the radio message to Lando had created like a 2-3 second gap to Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time that was called, he had a bit of a gap. I'm gonna say it. I wish Lando would have. I understand why he did it. I wish he would have just done the team orders right away.
Yeah,
but
it turned into a big thing.
And it showed some colors of Lando's engineer that we've never seen before.
Yeah, which it's not even. It wasn't the engineer.
No,
it was not his fault. It was the team saying, "Will, you have to make sure you get this." It was not Will making the call. So I don't even think we can blame his.
Not good.
No, but I don't think that was. I think he was getting those orders. Tell Lando this. And what really should have happened is as soon as it looked like Lando maybe wasn't listening the first time, Stella should have got on the radio.
I know.
And he should have just been like, you got to do this.
Yeah.
So they tried first by being like, you're pushing your tires too hard. They're going to run out at this pace, to slow him down, I think, for Oscar to kind of catch him and then call team orders.
Yeah.
But he wasn't doing that. He was pushing the tires, and he didn't push the tires too hard because he did have that pace all the way through.
Yeah.
Until he intentionally slowed down eventually. Spoiler alert, he did, to let Oscar through. But the radio messages were just really like, honestly,
uncomfortable. I started plugging my ears.
Yeah. And also, like, at that point you're doing, like, Lando should have honestly just been like, I'll give it back to him. I will give it back to him. But he didn't. So they kept doing the same messages, distracting Lando during the race. Like, it was really, like, multiple misses happened by the strategy team.
Yeah. And, but I don't know, I still can't get over Lando's engineers being like, you can't do this other team thing, some of the things he said were very, like... Manipulative.
Yeah.
And, like... And somebody made a point on Twitter that I agree with, the fact that, like, Lando stuck by them for so long when they were... in the trenches, absolutely, and like always has been like, this is my team, I'm sticking with McLaren, why wouldn't I? When he was getting offers from Red Bull and Christian Horner literally up until recently, like I don't know, he could have easily jumped ship and gone over to Red Bull and been in that RB19 last year.
Yep.
And he stuck out with them. I don't know, that just really, I did not like it.
No,
it was weird. It was so weird.
It was really poor choice of words.
Yeah, so bad.
And Oscar was fantastic about the whole situation. Who's shocked? Like, he was
literally.
like, he did a couple of times obviously make comments being like, the longer we wait, the dicier it gets, but he never was like, tell Lando to give it to me, because there are racers that are like, no, tell him right now, tell him to give it to me.
Yeah.
And every time Oscar did check in, they were just like, we're working on it, basically.
Yeah.
And we really, nobody knew for sure that again, all Lando really had to say was, I do plan on giving it back. I'm gonna let him through. I think Lando pushed it and didn't say that because he was hoping if he did build enough of a gap that they would be like, oh, actually just go for it, like, because eventually he did build it up to about a 6-second gap.
That was good. That was great driving from him. Great pulling away despite the whole situation.
Yeah, but I do think Oscar deserved to win.
I think he deserved to win
because
100%.
he led so much of it, and I think he did a fantastic drive.
Yeah.
He deserves that, and a lot of the radio messages that Will was saying was like, we talked about this, and we obviously assumed that...
We came to conclusion.
That they basically said whoever gets the jump at the start is who we're going to prioritize to win.
Yeah.
And Oscar got the jump at the start. So,
we don't know if that's true. That's just like
that's just speculation.
We came to.
Yeah. So eventually, you could tell maybe like probably like 5 laps left. Eventually,
I think it was like 3.
Yeah, you could see him slowing down.
Yeah, you saw the gap.
And
first it was like slow, and then he was like,
yeah, and let Oscar through.
Yeah,
but pause on them, the first and second. as this was all happening with the radio messages, we talked about Max being absolutely insane with GP over the radio throughout the whole race. So throughout the race, he was like cussing. He was like, "You gave me a shit strategy, blah, 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 blah." The commentators, DC was like, was it DC or Crofty?
It was DC.
DC was like...
Oh, no, it was Crofty. It was Crofty.
Crofty was like, he sounded like he needed to get a better night's rest because he obviously... Oh, maybe you don't know, but Max did participate in the 24 Hours of Spa, the virtual iRacing. Yeah. And he was like racing until 3 a.m., and then he went to bed, woke up, and went and raced again. And people were making comments about that, which they did last time too.
Yeah,
because last time he participated, he also kind of fumbled the win.
Really?
Yeah.
When was it?
When was
no,
it?
he won.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because everybody was like, he won here and he won.
Oh yeah. Oh, won. But he did bad in qualifying, I think.
I thought he just did good all week. I don't remember.
There's definitely some issues because people kept making comments about it back then too.
Oh,
but so Max and Lewis were fighting pretty hard, and they were kind of going back and forth a little bit. Mm-hmm. And at one point, Max like dive bombs in to try to cut Lewis at a corner, and locks up, just keeps going straight, and then does one of those little like wheel on wheel moves that like pops him up a little bit.
Yeah.
Luckily it wasn't like too bad, but it popped him up and it set Max off. Lewis was able to keep going. There wasn't damage to either of their cars, which is shocking. Well, probably a little bit, but not enough for them to retire.
Yeah.
But it did obviously cause Max to fall back behind Charles, so Max ended up coming in 5th. But that, like, the hard racing, everyone was like making comments like, you know, Max is this fantastic racer until he doesn't have the best car on the grid and he's not able to pull out and make that gap. Like, if he doesn't have the speed, when he's actually racing wheel to wheel with people, mm-hmm. he can't do it clean. Like, the last couple of weekends kind of just proved that, yes, maybe Max needs to, maybe he needs to be a little bit more mindful of his moves. Mad Max is back full force.
Mad Max is back. Also, like, it's so funny that this is 2021 for P3.
No, exactly.
Which, honestly, it's still a good gap of points, the podium, like, mm-hmm. but this is just funny.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, all in all, it was a very chaotic race. Lando gave the spot back to Oscar. Mm-hmm. Oscar ended up winning, and everyone, well, okay, when Oscar won, he comes on the radio. He's like, yeah, sorry.
He apologized.
He apologized for winning. And I think that the strategy team, we can talk about this all day. We have been talking about this all day.
We have.
The strategy team really ruined what could have been an amazing celebration.
Literally amazing.
McLaren won 2.
Hasn't happened since 2021.
Like, is that true?
Daniel Ricciardo.
A 1-2?
A 1-2 win?
Yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't happened since...
Lando was second when Daniel Ricciardo won?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long time. And they ruined that celebration.
You're going to be questioning that.
I don't know for sure. I just didn't know that.
I thought so. And when Daniel won, and I don't know. God, am I wrong?
Don't fact check.
Sorry.
Don't believe us either.
No, well, just on that one.
But, well... But yeah, no, what was I saying?
It could have been a 1-2. It could have been like...
Yeah, it could have been a great celebration.
Oscar's
first win, it could have been a great celebration, and everyone was like, all in all, like, Lando obviously wasn't happy from the team orders, because and I get why, like, I know why they undercut Lando, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But Lando wasn't happy with the team orders, obviously. Oscar probably felt a little bit, like, weird or uncomfortable with it because of the situation with the team orders. But also, I think it takes a lot of, like, excitement out of, like, Oscar's first win, because people will be like, well, Lando gave him the spot back. Would he have won without having the spot back?
Oh my god. Also, I saw one singular person say this, and it's so freaking dumb. Shut up. Nobody talk about it being a gifted win. That is not a gifted win.
No, but that's what people are going to say.
I know. But, like, you don't know anything if you're going to claim this is a gifted win.
Yeah. And so it takes away kind of the excitement from that. Luckily, we didn't know what Lando was going to be like when he gets in the car. We know he's emotional. We saw that after the issue he had with Max, the crash he had with Max. Like, he was very emotional in the interviews. And obviously you could tell he was a little sad, but I was hoping that he could, you know, pull it together. He pulled it together really well.
And you know what? I know he is happy for Oscar.
Yeah.
There's no questioning that at all. He literally hopped out of the car and went right over
right
Oscar.
away, celebrated with him. They were laughing together. They were smiling. They were
During
joking.
Lewis's interview, which was by Nico Rosberg.
That's a whole other thing we can't really get into.
No. They were happy, patting each other. Like, it was good.
Yeah, they, you know, celebrated on the podium. Lando did do a champagne pop, which is good because he didn't do one champagne pop, and everyone's like, he's depressed.
No, he hasn't done a champagne pop for a while.
He's back, baby.
I don't think he did it in Barcelona, obviously not in Austria, and he didn't do it in Silverstone.
Rough time for him. But he's back.
It's good.
People saw it. I mean, people got through to him. Someone was holding a sign.
Someone was bring back
during qualifying and said, yeah.
And then also in the interviews after Lando, he was like really talking
cute
about it. It was pretty cute. He was just obviously talking about the whole situation, and he was like, well, if I just kept putting myself in Oscar's shoes, and I know how much Oscar has done for me. And also, when he said that, he like got choked up. Yeah. He's like, I know how much Oscar has done for me before, and like, if you think back to Australia this year, they did team orders for Lando, and Lando got a podium in Australia, and which that upset people. Of course it did. So you know, he's like admitted what Oscar has done for him, and what, you know, he knows was right to do, and if he was Oscar, would have wanted to happen too.
Yeah.
I was going to say one more thing, but it literally just fluttered out of my little brain. My little brain is tired.
Yeah. All of the after race interviews, they were all good. Like, Lando was really good during them. Oscar obviously was great, and you know, Max even had some where Max was like, okay, I didn't see this, but our friend was talking about it, how like they were asking him and he was giving like very like PR answers, but you could literally see him like looking off screen, looking like he was reading off of like a cue card about like the answers. Max, I think, probably wanted to say more than he was allowed to say.
Yeah, there's a call on a medical.
Yeah, because I think you have to, and you have kind of whiplash kind of like that because he did technically go into the air very briefly.
He was like, they can come find me in the steward's office if they want to.
Yeah, but she didn't get a penalty or anything from that. There's color racing incident. But yeah, all in all, it was a very chaotic time. There was more team orders issues with Aston Martin as well.
Yeah. Oh
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so while all of this was happening, like we said this before, the cameras did not pan away from McLaren, Lando, Oscar, and Max, Lewis, and fucking radio messages. So behind us, we had no clue what was going on, but Yuki did a one pit stop. It was hot as hell there. The track temperature was, I think, around 100 degrees, and he managed to do a one pit stop, and in that one pit stop, he kept both of the Aston Martins behind him.
Yep.
Because
so Aston Martin's basically called Fernando and asked him to let Lance through. And Fernando had a pretty just not happy weekend.
Rough?
Like, he was, I don't know exactly why,
I don't know what was going on.
But he was really upset after qualifying yesterday, like so much that like he put on his jacket before he got weighed, and the FIA guy was like, you have to take your jacket off and hold your helmet to get weighed. Alonso literally took his jacket off, threw it on the ground, took his hat, threw it on the ground, grabbed his helmet, and got weighed, and then he like stormed out.
It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
that's so disrespectful.
And then he was like also like talking to George, and I saw like tweets being like, George having to listen to this as like president of the GPDA.
Oh, GPDA, yeah.
And be like, it's literally his job to listen to these complaints, but it's kind of giving like, okay, Grandpa, like,
come on, Grandpa,
let's get you to bed.
So funny.
But yeah, there was all in all, like, it was chaotic race. I could probably watch it 3 or 4 more times all the way through and still be like, oh my god, I didn't know that happened, because again, all of the focus was with McLaren at the front, and then obviously Max and Lewis's battle.
Well, so we never finished that with Aston, they let Lance through to try and catch Yuki, but he couldn't catch Yuki, and then it was said that to Alonso into Lance that, like, if you can't catch Yuki, like, Lance switches back, Alonso gets 10th, and
Lance didn't give it back.
Give it back.
He just didn't give it back.
Oh.
Share.
Lots of calls were made. Somebody tweeted and said, why is the most stable Formula 1 team right now Haas?
Yeah.
And it is.
It is.
Unless there's mysteriously something we have not seen. Also, I just got a notification as we're sitting here that Mclaren posted their debrief video with Stella, Oscar.
I can't wait to watch that.
I cannot wait to watch that.
Can't wait to watch that.
That'll be good. The videos afterwards of also we had talked about this, how this is written in the stars. We will be pulling our clips from last week's episode because Hungary has been known for now 7 people have gotten their maiden win here with Oscar. The trophy is literally green and yellow, Australia's colors. Hello, that is literally made. And then also last time Spain won in the Euros and Australia got a win, and it happened again. Spain won in the Euros and Oscar won. It's kind of crazy how that.
No, it was written in the stars.
Actually.
During the podium, first of all, obviously last year on the podium is when Lando did one of his champagne pops and accidentally knocked over Max's trophy and broke it. It was like a whole, gag about it. When Lando got his trophy, Lando handed it to the FIA president to put on, like, to the side because he was like, I don't want to break this. But also, as Lando was going down to do his champagne pop, not only did he just spray himself in the face, you also see in the background Oscar, like, holding his trophy, like, being like, no.
Also, Lando hopped off of the podium and did it on the ground.
Yeah, he learned his lesson.
He knew. He knew for sure. And I also really it got blurry for us. We didn't see the whole podium.
Yeah. But they did well. They did well for Oscar's first win.
Yeah, and that's what I said.
Yeah.
I said I need people there who are going to understand the assignment like they did for Lando, like Max and Charles did for Lando's. They understood the assignment.
Yeah.
They very
you really couldn't pick many more people that would have been, a better fit. Like Lewis and...
I love that Lewis was there.
It would have been good for Charles, I think, to be on there.
Yeah, that would have been cute. But I think it was good for Lewis because, like, Lewis has so much respect for McLaren because of the time he raced.
Yeah, he even said that in his after interview. He's like, I'm so excited for McLaren. They got this because they were my home first.
He kept calling them my old family, or my first family, old family. It was really cute.
It's really cute. All in all,
I mean, it was a good weekend, but it was
stressful. It was
a little.
I was also hungover watching the race this morning, and I had a headache.
I was meant to bring her medicine, but I picked up the wrong medicine bottle.
Yeah. It was 9 a.m.
I would like to say the videos with Oscar that McLaren have posted are really cute. Like, he was holding the trophy and looking at it, and they were like, how's it feel? And he was just like, feels really good. It was so, it's so
also
cute.
So crazy, looking at the comparison from, Lando's first win to Oscar's first win, and I don't think that... I think it would have been the same. Even if there was no drama at all, I think the reactions would have been the same because they're obviously very different. But Lando was, on the radio being like, woohoo! Woo! And, at first, whenever Oscar, again, maybe a little bit from the situation, but Oscar was like, great.
Congrats. And then he was like...
And then he realized, I should say more.
Team,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then also, obviously when Lando first won, he, ran up to his team, jumped in the air. They were, lifting him up. Oscar did, a slight jog and was like...
He's like, I'm not doing all that.
Yeah, it was just it's funny seeing their reactions and the differences in their reaction. But obviously we're super happy for a McLaren 1-2. We're super happy for Oscar. Yeah. Honestly, it was a great race for us.
It was a great race for us.
I could have done without the drama, but then again, the drama is why we love the sport.
I wonder what would have happened genuinely if Oscar was pit first. It's also you never know what would have happened.
Probably would have been a bit boring, actually.
or could something have happened with Lewis getting away?
Yep.
It's just so insane.
Yeah.
I think McLaren needs to sit down and talk about our radio.
They need to all just talk through it.
I think. I think
they'll be fine. I mean, they had a shit strategy last race too.
In Silverstone.
At least they didn't fumble it hard enough that they lost the 1-2 or they got them both on podium.
Yeah.
Which is their first podium together this year, and it's a 1-2. Yeah.
Amazing.
So that's good. But I genuinely hope that they get
next weekend's going to be exciting.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, it's Spa.
I love Spa. It's one of my favorite races to watch. It's a scary race to watch because so much tragedy has happened in Spa. So many crashes have happened in Spa. But it's one of my favorite races to watch. There's always inevitably bad weather there, which makes things interesting. But I'm excited. I'm really excited for it.
And it's before
summer break. And then we have a couple of weeks off from both IndyCar and Formula One. Like, what are we gonna do?
There's not a WEC race either. I wonder if there's a Elms race, European Le Mans Series. We could watch them.
Yep.
I feel like there's more I need to talk about the race, but we literally covered everything.
Yeah. Let's do our pops and problems.
Okay, yeah. Champagne pop?
I'm giving my champagne pop to Oscar. It's his first win!
Going to Oscar.
Good old Oscar.
Good old Oscar. Oscar Piastri gets the Podium Pop, Champagne Pop of the Week.
Yep, and he also got Driver of the Day.
Yeah.
Which, again, well-deserved. First win.
Yeah.
That one was already obvious. Problem?
Lando's engineer.
Yeah.
I hated, and you know what, I get they were all frustrated. I hated the way they were talking to him so badly.
Yeah, actually I'm not doing that. I'm doing Max as a champagne, or a champagne problem.
Yeah, that's so fair.
Definitely the frustration was real, and I get why he's frustrated. He was really upset with his strategy, but I don't think Red Bull necessarily made any bad calls with his strategy. I mean, maybe a couple things, like they could have, stayed out longer or anything. I don't even know what was happening because I was so focused on McLaren. But he definitely, GP literally straight up on the camera said, "You're being childish."
Yeah, he did.
And I think he was being childish. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Max. So he could be childish all day. I'm like, well. But I do think that he probably he deserves the champagne problem of the week.
Oh my God. You have to do a shoey.
No, I don't.
I think you do.
I'm not doing a shoey. I only said that if it was his home race. Oscar, if you win Australia next year, I will do a shoey. And you know what? I'll even double down if Lando wins Silverstone next year. I'll do a shoey. But I will not be doing a shoey for Oscar's first win. Sorry. Maybe if I wasn't so hungover this morning, I would consider doing a shoey. But I'm not going to do that.
That's so fair. Oh, let's look at the constructors and the standings.
Okay, yes. Constructors. Big day for us.
Big day for us.
We moved up to second. And I say we, I mean McLaren. So let me pull it up real quick. So with the constructors now, Ferrari's at 322 points. McLaren's at 338. Red Bull's at 389. And if things continue in the trajectory that they are going, and Checo continues not getting podiums, and McLaren continues doing fantastic, I really truly think McLaren is going to win constructors this year. If Red Bull doesn't kind of pull a move on Checo soon, I do think that McLaren is going to win constructors. I think we're really not that far off.
We're not far off.
Give us a couple good races and we'll be there.
Yeah, very interested to see what happens with Spa.
Yeah, so Mercedes moved. Mercedes stayed at fourth. Ferrari obviously moved down to third. Mercedes is at 241, so they have a pretty good gap between them and Ferrari. So we're still not too far in front of Ferrari. I need a couple more good races again just to kind of build that gap up a little bit to feel comfortable. But that's what we're looking at. Drivers' standings, it's still Max in the lead at 265. Quite the gap to Lando in second at 189. Lando did build a bit more of a gap to Charles, who's in third. And now Charles is sitting at 162 points. Carlos is in fourth. Oscar's in fifth. Checo moved down another spot, because Lewis moved up to sixth. Checo's down in seventh. In seventh in a Red Bull?
When your teammate's in first with
a huge gap.
80-ish point gap.
Yeah. And Lewis actually popped up above George as well.
Yes. Oh, and back with Yuki driving so well today, he extended a gap to Daniel.
Yep.
But I think 2 or 3 points, but still.
So now Yuki has 22. Yuki has double the points that Daniel has in the driver's standings.
Yeah.
Yuki has 22 and Lando has 11. Or Daniel has 11. Lando doesn't have 11 points.
And I think, really quick, we need to talk about the fact that where McLaren was last year at this time.
Again.
Before summer break.
We, at this point, had just had a little bit of of joy
with
from Silverstone.
Yeah.
But it's still, we were nowhere near where we are. Amazing what a difference a year is. Now, another thing to note about this is that as much drama as there was between, you know, Lando and Oscar, the fact that we didn't even, like, I wasn't stressed at all at any point. Well, there were points in the race where I was, but near the end when I was focused on that, not stressed at all about third place. Because there was such a big gap. We had such a strong car, and yes, Max and Lewis fighting each other did slow them down a bit.
Yeah.
But our car,
it's so fast.
We have the best car on the track right now.
So fast. Wow, this is making me really want to build my Lego.
You need to build that.
That's a good summer break activity, though.
That is, yep.
Also, it just is this weekend reaffirmed how good of teammates Lando and Oscar are together, and just that respect they have for each other, and I love it. I love Papaya, and you know what? Yeah, fuck the Papaya family thing this weekend a little bit. I bleed Papaya.
You know what? All families have issues, and you know what? You work past them. Everyone's like, I'm not a McLaren fan. I'm only a Lando and Oscar fan. I'm like, no, I'm unfortunately, probably against better judgment, I am a McLaren fan. I love McLaren. That's my team.
Like, it does stem a lot from Lando and Oscar.
Right.
But,
like, will I be, if Lando or Oscar leave McLaren, I will also probably be a fan of the team that they go to. But I still think I don't know. It's hard. Let's not think about it. We don't have to think about it for years.
We don't.
But it's just a lot to think about.
It is a lot to think about.
Anyways, thank you. Is that everything?
No.
Oh, what else?
What do you think's gonna happen next weekend in Spa?
I think Oscar's gonna win.
You think Oscar's gonna get back to back?
I think back to back. Ooh, Lando would be pissed about that. I think it's gonna be a McLaren double podium. I don't know who's gonna win, but I do know this: Will, keep your mouth shut.
Let's chat.
I think it'll depend on weather too.
Okay. What about pole? What do you think's gonna happen with pole?
Lando.
Sorry, Spa? Never mind.
What?
Spa's not a sprint race, right?
I don't believe so.
I don't know why I just
talk,
thought
I'll
that for
check.
a second. I think a McLaren is going to get pole, and I think it would be Lando. We already talked about this. He needs to work on his starts.
No sprint.
Okay, I don't know why I
Wait.
thought it was.
Oh yeah, sorry, no sprint.
Wait!
I saw an F3 sprint race. I got confused.
I think it's going to be another McLaren double podium, and I think it's going to be a Mercedes up there. Actually, I think we're going to see another Ferrari come up.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
But I hope not, because of Constructors' Cup.
I do think it's going to be McLaren and a Mercedes. Oh my gosh, remember last week I said I thought it was going to be a Mercedes double podium? I was
God
so wrong.
you were wrong.
Oh, we didn't even talk about George.
Where am I, George?
George did not make it out of Q1.
Oh, yeah. Toto was unhappy. He was not happy at all.
He had a good recovery, though, today.
Yeah, he did. What did he end up in?
I think he got points.
He ended up in 8th.
That's good.
That's really good because he qualified.
17th.
He was in 17th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not great.
Back to Spa. What did you think the podium's going to be?
I think it's going to be... I don't know the order. But I kind of... Lewis has been doing good.
Lewis is doing great.
I think it could be possibly a repeat of this week's podium.
I think so too.
Maybe if not Lewis, then I think Max.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Max is just
he's
getting
feeling the pressure
more and more reckless.
Yeah, I think he's definitely right now under the most pressure he's been in since probably 2021. Yeah, maybe a little bit in 2022. But not even that crazy, but like he's feeling the pressure.
Yeah.
Not necessarily just because of points, because he shouldn't feel the pressure yet for points, but I think more so like reputation and how many like crashes and you know
everything
issues with other drivers he's been having. Which side note is there was a clip Lewis and Max like were smiling. Yes. They like were patting each other on the back.
Yeah, so we'll talk later. They're fine.
Yeah, but yeah, it's either going to be, I think, Max, Lewis, maybe George, and then I think both McLarens will be on the podium.
Mm-hmm. George's, his lap times during FP3 were really good, so.
Mm-hmm. But I will also say is that, again, we have 7 different race winners, which we talk all the time about how, like, crazy IndyCar is, the fact that it's so much easier to, or more fun to watch because you can't expect, like, who's going to win. It's not like the Max Verstappen show. Mm-hmm. They also have 7 different winners this year. That's so crazy. It's weird that it's crazy that's
races, but.
Right.
Yeah.
With,
okay, how many times are you going to say,
I can't. I started talking and I lost it.
Is your brain okay?
No.
Okay. Mine's not either.
Okay. Good. I guess we'll never know what I was trying to say.
And you know what? Papaya family, we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much for listening. It was a whirlwind.
Let us know your thoughts on everything.
Definitely let us know your thoughts. There was so much, like, again, like, we didn't talk really about Williams or Haas or, like,
Alex yelled at his engineer.
Yeah, I love when he does that.
Yeah, they said something about strategy or something, and he was like, "What the fuck?" He didn't actually say this. I'm paraphrasing. He was like, "Why are you doing this to me? Putting me in this strategy and then coming in and interrupting my races?" And some MJ on TikTok and Instagram, our friend, she was like, "It's National Yell at Your Engineer Day."
Mm-hmm. He was just celebrating. Happy Yell at Your Engineer Day to those who celebrate.
To all those who celebrate.
And
you know what?
A lot of people celebrate. They celebrate.
I'll celebrate with them.
So, okay. Well, definitely keep an eye out on our socials because we do plan on putting out a additional episode this week because we will be recapping the IndyCar race, which was also very chaotic. And spoiler alert, my IndyCar team, aka Andretti, also got a 1-2. Great weekend for me.
And McLaren also had some crazy stuff happening over there, but we'll do a full IndyCar episode
TK?
on all that.
You scare me.
I'm scared of you.
I'm scared of you, TK.
What witchcraft do you know?
Yep.
Can you teach me, by the way?
Yep. So, anyways, we manifested that Oscar was going to get his first win. He got his first win, so now we're manifesting another McLaren 1-2 next weekend. So tune in next week as well to see if we were right.
To see what happens.
So, thanks for listening.
Bye!